Hello, friends. Welcome to this special episode of Dear Future Self. If you've listened to any of my episodes so far, you know I say the same thing every time. I love this podcast series. The conversations that I'm having with women are truly remarkable. Having women come to consciousness of themselves, their younger selves, and their future selves has been astounding. Many people have revealed things with me that they've never shared before, and today is going to be no exception. Today, I am delighted to welcome my dear friend, Nadine Searle, to this conversation. Nadine has been with me on many conversations, many journeys, and it's something that I honestly had to breathe a little bit this time because when we have been, hello, Nadine, I'm just welcoming you. Thank you
Oh,
for joining me
hello.
today. I was just saying I had to breathe a little bit in this conversation that we're going to have today because we've had many past conversations, but this time we have a different conversation to have.
Me
In
too.
this Dear Future Self podcast series, I am helping people understand that they can create their future reality. But sometimes reality is created for us. So, Nadine, I want to welcome you to this podcast discussion today. I love you, dear friend. I'm happy to see you. What's new?
New hairdo, new hairdo. Woo, woo,
Hairdo.
woo. Being quite flippant, but yeah, there's a lot new, isn't there? Things have changed in my world massively. I've had a cancer diagnosis that came in December. Lots of testing, lots of working out exactly where it is, what it is. I now have a treatment plan. Prognosis is good, but I'm going through the process, and chemotherapy is doing what it does.
Yeah.
Hence the a lack of hair. But I'm good. I'm good. And as I say, very positive. But yes, like you say, life changing. Things have changed in my world massively. So I'm very
Things
pleased to be here talking to you and get this opportunity to share a little bit of it with everyone.
things have changed in your world massively. And for every one of us who know you and love you, you have a huge team of light workers working
I
with
do.
you.
I do.
But honestly, the world has changed for us as well. So, this podcast series is called Dear Future Self. And I put it out there quite a bit. It's based on my book, my Dear Future Self book. And in the book, there are several women who shared their own Dear Future Self quotes. But I didn't approach you personally to reiterate an invitation to the podcast because, frankly, Nadine, to speak with someone with a recent cancer diagnosis, it makes no sense to ask them to have this discussion. But as always, you have given me permission to say what I want, ask what I want, and be who I am with you,
Yeah.
as you always are with me. And I think that this discussion today is going to be very enlightening. So I want to thank you so much for being here today. And I want to ask you, what is it about this thesis that resonated with you that had you say to me, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast?
Mm, mm. It's so interesting for me because obviously I love all that you do and I want to be part of it anyway. And you're right. When I was going through my diagnosis, I sort of stepped back a little bit. You respected that space and gave me that, and I really appreciate that. But then I started to think, actually, this is something I want to talk about with you and with everyone else, because my idea of what I'm saying to my dear future self has changed, and that is empowering actually for me. And I wanted to share that as much as anything, that this has changed me and it's changed my ideas, it's changed the way I talk to myself. I'm learning all the time, and it just was something I felt quite compelled, if you like, to go, I really would like to do this. So I did ask you,
Mm.
and you responded like you always do, with great joy, and welcomed me. And I'm really, really pleased, because it is that. And I think one of the things I really want to say is that it is okay to change. I'm one of those people that thought, I want to be whatever. This is what I say to my future self. But I have changed, and I will continue to change my dialogue, if you like, my letter to my future self, however you want to look at it, my words, my plea, my prayer. And that's a big thing that I have learned, that it's not necessarily stagnant. It doesn't need to be, and it will change all the time. And that was quite enlightening for me. So again, that's something to share with people, that doesn't have to be one thing. You don't have to know what it is even, but it
Mm.
can be. Does that sort of make sense to you?
Well, I'm having a reaction because even though you and I have never met in person, which seems
No,
crazy,
no.
we are so deep in a bonded connection with each other. It resonated deeply. And because I know you allow me to speak freely with you, as I've gotten to know you over these few years, I could feel just now when you said it's okay to change, and my dialogue to my future self, has changed and can change, and now possibly will change. But
Yeah.
honestly, Nadine, change is easy to change was not the way I would have described you before.
No, no, exactly. This is the thing. This is one of the lessons that I am being gifted, to learn. That actually, when I think about the way I've talked to my future self, if I've ever thought about it before, to be honest, it's always, I want to be one thing, another, set in stone almost. So that fluidity maybe was not the old me, and it is now. And I'm very glad of that, because it is something that it's important. I feel it's very important to give myself that break, if you like, to go, it is okay to be a bit uncertain. It is okay to not know. It is okay to change. And if you saw me as someone that was not like that before, then yes, very perceptive, because I wasn't. I thought, this is what I want. This is what I need, very focused, very determined, thinking I knew what I wanted. And maybe that's not the best way. I don't know. I'm not criticizing. It's what I was like, more so. But now I'm different, and I'm quite enjoying that at the moment.
Yeah, it's amazing. Um, we've had so many conversations. We've done multiple podcast series together. We've been in groups together. We've supported each other. We've talked
Yeah.
countless times, and and there's so much coming up for me about the markers of your life. And in our past conversations, we've talked about the fact that you were a people pleaser.
Yes.
I call myself a type A. You called yourself a people pleaser. When you're
Yeah.
pleasing other people, you're stopping yourself from all things. It's hard to change and transform.
Yeah.
You take on the skin that you think you're supposed to have for others. And
Yes.
all
Yeah.
these ways are on the outside, but on the inside, we get smaller and smaller. And honestly, Nadine, in this conversation, even now, I'm having this like big energy on the inside that is getting bigger and bigger. You had beautiful, gorgeous long hair, the envy of every woman in the world, and it's gone. You said to me in the
Gone.
green room just before, the hair was not the most important thing. My life is, right?
Yes. Exactly. I can say that now. Again, it's that learning, isn't it? I used to, carry a lot. Well, my hair was quite important to me. Still is. I'm not, it was very special, but it's not it now. The way that I feel now, it's gone. So what? It's that kind of, it gets it in perspective, doesn't it? And you're absolutely right. How many times I've fussed about what my hair looks like, and so vain, and so like, oh, my hair, my hair. And now it's not there. It's still quite new for me, So to not have it there and even coming on today, go, oh, I don't have to do my hair.
Yes.
That's
You
a bonus.
you bought time. You bought
Yes.
25 minutes of time.
Yes.
In the thesis of I have my last two books, my Dear Younger
Yes.
Self book
Yes.
and
Yeah.
my Dear Future Self book. It's so poignant right now in this conversation. We're talking about hair, but we're not really,
No,
in the
no.
Dear Younger Self, we are who we are, and we can't, that's just the way it is. But we can go back and speak to our younger selves now,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And have
Definitely.
some conversation.
Yeah, and I think the two go together so beautifully, don't they? The going back to the younger self, and as you know, we've both done a lot of inner child work, whatever you want to call it. But that speaking, reassuring, loving, being kind, and nurturing your younger self is so important. And it does go hand in hand, in my mind, anyway, to talking to your future self, and how you can create your own reality. I think, and you said it to me in one of the early days of my diagnosis. You said to me, and I won't quote you exactly right because I never get it right, but it was quite poignant to me that you just get to the end of the day. What do you want to be by the end of today or the next hour? How do you want to feel? What do you want to do? And that is so beautiful because it puts you in the moment. It actually does go, this is how far I want to be. I don't have to look ahead too much. Yes, we do when we're talking to our future self. We can have goals, we can have aspirations, but actually to narrow it down and just go, how do I want to feel now? How do I want to feel in an hour? That kind of thing. Do you remember saying that to me?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. That's really my thesis. And
Mm,
as you very well know, Nadine, I myself am still in an acute journey
yes.
of trauma and grief from the loss
Mm,
of my husband only 5 months ago.
yeah. Yeah.
And so you and I, Nadine, we use our tools, right?
We do.
People,
We do.
we use our own tools. You are
We
the
do.
calmer self coach. I
Oh,
am the
yes.
confidence coach. And so I also use that tool sometime when I'm in
Mm,
a low.
yeah.
I'm in charge of me. I'm in
Yes.
charge, and I'm in charge of my emotion, and I can allow myself to sob, and I can allow
Yeah.
myself to, move through and be in a happy moment. One of the things that we've discussed in other episodes, Nadine, has come up for me, which for me would be obvious reasons. And you gave me permission to talk about this, and this is alcohol use.
Yeah.
In the conversation about managing, coping with the stuff of life, things that are thrown about at us that appear to be so out of our control. Later in the conversation, and you already started it by saying, a good lesson learned. Later, we can talk more about the destiny of things that happen to us. But the
Mm,
truth is, when things happen, it makes us feel very out of control, very
yeah.
ungrounded, and very out of balance. And in the past, you've shared with us, we've talked about it freely, your use of alcohol. This is
Mm,
a topic of deep personal importance to me, and
yeah.
I so appreciate being able to speak about it out loud in public like this. And I have to be honest with you, friend, I have wondered, has alcohol presented itself to you as an option for, feeling better, or hiding a little bit or whatever in this journey, otherwise known as traumatic journey that you've been
Yeah.
on?
Mm. It's a really good question, and it's something that I have considered, bearing in mind that it's what I used to turn to as a coping mechanism, as a numbing out, if you like, a way of not coping, a way of escaping from my feelings, my fears, the reality of life. Through this, the honest truth is, no, it has not been there for me. It hasn't been something. And I wouldn't say I've surprised myself. I'm very glad that that hasn't been there. What I've found is my coping mechanism is, like you just said, my calmer self method, the things that you share with me, that so many people share with me, the confidence hacks, if you like. Those have been the things that I've tapped into. The self-care, the looking after me, and really recognizing that turning to alcohol as a way of coping or numbing or whatever it is that we do, is not what I want to choose. And I think you said it earlier about this taking the control back. If I turned to alcohol, I would be giving away my control again. And I don't want to do that. This is about me being in control of this nightmare situation, because that's how I feel about it. It's very traumatic, like you said earlier, you know, and very much out of my control. But I really want to be in control. And if I turned to alcohol, I wouldn't be in control. So that's part of my reasoning. And I have thought about it long and hard, but I'm very glad, as I say, it hasn't been something I've gone, oh, let's just have a drink, let's just do this. That has not happened during all of this, through all the diagnosis, through all the fear of worrying what it is, where it is, how this is going to be. That was not an option. I have to be honest with you. I did, as a little bit of a celebration with a friend, say, let's have a little glass of Prosecco. Let's just see. I didn't sit well. I didn't feel very well quite quickly. And that's okay. But I did try, because I am one of those people, I'm never going to not have alcohol. I don't want that in my life. That's the way I've managed this. So I did give myself that little, because I actually wanted to have a little bit of a celebration, if you like. That's the way I wanted to look at it. Or let's just have a little bubbly. But it did, as I say, I feel that my liver is probably doing enough detoxifying at the moment with the chemotherapy cocktail that I'm on, and my oncologist does call it a chemo cocktail, bless him. And I just think, so actually there is that as well in my mind and in my heart, that I don't want to interfere with that. My body is doing so much at the moment. My liver is doing so much that I want to support that. So nutrition wise, to alternative therapies, everything to help myself. But I'm very, very lucky that, as I say, I haven't slipped back into that, because I know how easy it is. And I have quite surprised myself that hasn't been a go-to. I'm not saying I won't feel like that, because obviously my mood goes up and down. As a possibility, but so far it hasn't happened. So
I mean, I want to, when your mood goes down, I want to invite you to play this conversation and listen to our words and feel the energy of love in our room here. This is amazing and astounding for anyone who knows and understands alcohol use. And, you also invoked nutrition. And so this is a conversation that I have with a lot of people. For me, it's ice cream, or potato chips, and when I want to treat myself, why do we treat ourselves with things that can actually kill us? It's an interesting.
Isn't it? Isn't it? So my doggy's having a little stretch behind us.
I see that.
You're absolutely right, because I did. I went to my comfort food place. Got to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
My first round of chemotherapy was quite brutal. I was quite ill, couldn't leave the toilet, to put it bluntly. And my mouth was so sore. So I went for mashed potato and white bread, partly because of the pain, but also I wanted to be healthy. I wanted the vegetable. I prepared vegetable soup. I'd done all the prep and everything. My taste was awful. It still is. But actually, so I wasn't doing that. So I did do that. I did a bit of the comfort food thing. But again, I was okay. That's okay. I knew I wasn't going to do it forever. I've started to introduce the more healthy stuff now, and that's the way I want to be. But if I feel rotten and if my mouth hurts again, which it might, I'm going to give myself that break, because it is about looking after myself in whatever way I can. And that is something, again, that is quite freeing, just to go, I had those intentions to be mega healthy. It didn't quite work for a couple of weeks, because I wasn't in the right frame of mind to be like that. So yes, I did do some comfort food, and I'm very disappointed that things don't taste the way that I expect them to.
That's the worst.
It's annoying.
I just want to call out, what you said was that, I'm looking at my notes. I'm already onto my second page.
I know, you're so good. I don't know how you do it.
What you said was alcohol was not what I wanted to choose. And then what you said was the things that have helped me have been the tools, we call them tools, of self-care. there has been an outpouring of love. People have sent you
Oh,
flowers and
yes, I
lotions and
know.
all kinds of things.
So
So there's
wonderful.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
To be vulnerable, to share your truth,
Yes.
such
Yes.
that you
Yeah.
allow others in to be a
Mm.
part of your support. Dear future self, I
Yes.
have learned that when I
Yes.
allow
Yes.
others in, they show up for me in such love that I can't
Yes.
help but feel better.
Yes, and that is key. This is another one of those wonderful lessons that I'm being given now, to show up in my vulnerability, which again, I've struggled with in my past, being that people pleaser, being the person I show up the way I think people want me to actually show up like this, to show up this way, to be public with this, because as I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, hide it, be public. So that's something that I'm working through, and I do want to share it because it serves me very well, like you've just described. I'm getting so much love and support, which is wonderful for me. But also, I do know it helps other people as well. I'm getting so many messages from people saying that it helps them. So there is a bit of that, and that's, I'm careful that that's not my people pleasing, because this is about looking after me first. And again, stepping into that big time, it's enabled me to do that more. If I can't do it now, when can I? This is the time, isn't
This
it?
is the time.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. The idea of actually being vulnerable, showing people, that my hair, whatever shape and form it is, sharing my diagnosis, which I didn't do immediately. I did take time to do that. And then the love that I received, it's overwhelming, and it's so moving to actually fit, because you really feel it. You really feel it. And and that is so lovely, because I never used to be that person. I never could be vulnerable. I never could actually go, oh, please help me, and now I can, and I get it back, like you say, tenfold, millionfold. And it
Mm.
is so beautiful. And I'd encourage anyone to step into that if they can, because it is so, so valuable. And yourself, people want to help other people want to inspire and share their love. And again, that's a lesson that's been a long time coming for me, to go, if I can ask for help, then I will get it. And I never used to be that person. So again, dear future self, like you said, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to not know. It's okay to ask. It's okay to be, I've been angry, a lot. It's okay to show up in that way, to show up not 100%, which again, I never used to be able to do. So it is. And the fact that social media is here, which again, it never used to be in my world. It never used to be something I wanted to be in, but it's valuable. There is a place for it in this life, isn't there? So, so
There is indeed. For those of us who are light workers, we can bring light to it,
yes,
even though there is doubtless a lot of darkness around
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I set that intention and commitment many years ago. It was 2016 when I first set that commitment that I will use social media for good.
yes, yes,
And I came to that as a result of some ranting and raving and a horrible feeling around some engagement with global stuff going on, and that was it. I set my mind to it, and I just started doing it, and I've never stopped. So I want to make sure that I want to bring out what you just said. When you hear yourself saying, dear future self, I've learned that it's okay to be vulnerable. And I've learned that people want to help.
yes,
This is
yeah,
one of my greatest lessons. My own sister-in-law, my brother's wife, Linda, was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia 20 years ago. And at that time, we had not had any cancer diagnoses in the family, and it was brand new. It was a shock, as you
mm,
well know. And in that journey at that time, I learned the story of how it feels to say yes when people want to help.
mm,
And from that time to this, I have asked for help And I have said yes when people have offered help, because during that time, she was pregnant with my niece, who is now 20 years old, Alexandra, my nephew, Ben, and my niece, Sadie. We all jumped in to take care of those little tiny children who are now amazing adults. And when people were saying, what do you need? I said, we need bagels, we need meatloaf, we
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
all kinds of things. Somebody drib
Yeah.
into a dance lesson. So
Yeah.
this is so important. Nadine, I'd like to talk about the concept of the future self. You brought it up just a minute ago, and that was at some point I said to you, it could be at the end of this hour, right? We have this concept of the future, and no one knows better than you that the future is unexpected. And me, frankly, with what
Yeah.
I've
We don't
been
know.
through,
Mm.
whoever would have imagined what would have happened in my life?
Yeah.
Surely not I. And so this concept of the future in my promotion of this podcast, in my discussion with people, even on the back of my book, it says right here, what if you could predict your future? Does this seem too good to be true? I used to believe that too, but now I know it can be done. And what I mean by that is what you're showing us, Nadine,
Yeah.
that I can be in charge of myself by thinking about my future self, right? It could be an hour from now or
Yeah.
minute to minute when you have mouth sores, you're vomiting, and,
Mm.
or in a time like this that you're having a calmer state of being of your inner body and your mind. Where you can begin to think, an hour a week, a month from now, in the green room, we talked about your hair's going to grow back and it'll
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
curious to see what it will look
Yeah.
like. That's the
Mm.
future. This is the most important lesson that I want to teach through this thesis of Dear Future Self. We go there and we look back. This is a tool I created so many years ago to now, so that, for example, you can eat your mashed potatoes and not hate on yourself
Yes. Yes.
now
Mm.
in the present moment, because you're obviously in pain and difficulty, and that's all you could eat at that
Yeah.
time.
Mm.
And do you know what I mean by this? Like, do you know how much
Yeah.
time we spend hating on ourselves in the now?
Yes. Yes. This is, it's so key, isn't it? Because I wouldn't have given myself that before. I would have gone, my future needs to be healthy. My future needs to be eating the things I prepared for myself. But I didn't. Like you say, you can change, you can give yourself that. And I really feel that this is um, the message that I really want to get out, that this, yes, we can predict, like you said, we can predict, we can have goals, we can have aspirations, we can be working towards something, but also we can be fluid. We can change, we can give ourselves a break, we can change. We can, whether it's us changing our mind or something that happens in our life that changes our perception and how we feel, that is okay too. And also I feel that it's okay not to know. I was so set in my goals and going, a goal of my future, predicting my future had to be so clear and so cut and dried and had to be so definite. And I look back now and I think, how ridiculous is that? Because how did I think that was ever going to happen? I believed it. I thought I was doing that. But actually, it really isn't. And that is okay. That is good because it gives you that break. We don't really know, do we? Maybe I was kidding myself thinking that I had that control over my future and I could predict. And it sounds contradictory, but yes, I can still predict, but I can also give myself that fluidity.
Well,
Does
the
that
thing
make
is
sense?
this, I want to be clear on this. Your use of the word goals. Here's what I just did. Well, you can't really see
Yeah.
it. I
No.
wrote down the word goals when you said it, and I put an X over it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what I'm talking about is not the doing, it's the feeling,
No.
it's the being.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so the thing is that when you said before, we talked about, I asked you, frankly, to tell you the truth, Nadine, it did enter my mind. And, when somebody has issues of overuse with alcohol, why wouldn't it be a go-to? Now,
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
worry about it because I learned that worrying is creating your own future reality, but
Yes.
rather
Yeah.
instead, when you gave me permission, I simply asked about it with non-judgment, with love and concern, or
Yeah.
curiosity, I should
Mm.
say. And but what I want to say is that, the thesis is not about the goal orientation of my future. I love that you just called people like us out on thinking that you can, really, do the things that you imagine, but more about the thing that you said with, as I have leaned now in my present,
Mm.
as I have leaned into what we call self-care practices
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
we've talked about, vulnerability,
Yeah.
showing up in a real way. Um, so, for example, showing up with your head newly shaved, you can show up in true calm on the inside and outside, or you could have been worried and in fear, and
Yeah.
anxiety is the word,
Yes.
anxiety,
Yeah.
of it. These are two different ways of showing up. Um, and lear- and and that's the future that I want to predict now.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
want my future self to be as healthy and as well as she can be, in the knowing of what we mature women now know. And that's what you were
Mm.
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
The younger self is like, oh, I want to be rich, I want to be
Yes.
famous, I want to be
Yeah.
this and that, or whatever,
Mm.
all the things
Mm.
that we think that we want to be. Now, in
Yes.
our maturity, we want to be well, we want to be healthy,
Yes.
we want to be calm, we want to be confident in life,
Mm.
to be able to show up in whatever is intended,
Yeah. Yeah.
for us. And then, and this is what we're learning from you. This is why the fact that your younger self created a calm, confident comfort in showing up publicly, and you had to work through that, to go
Yeah. Yeah.
live and be
Yeah.
on video and use social media and hear your voice.
Yeah.
The fact
Mm.
that your younger self worked through that is allowing
Mm.
your current self to do this with such
Yes.
a huge impact. So
Yes.
that's what my thesis is. An hour from now, I'm already sad because we're going to be done talking, but I know I'm going to be walking my dog today,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to be eating something healthy, even if I
Yeah.
also eat something unhealthy. I
Yeah.
know that I'm going to be socializing a bit because that's important.
Mm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah, there are things that we know we're going to do. We do, and we hold ourselves accountable almost, don't we? We do these things. But there's also the things, and I think you're so right in the fact that it's how you feel. It's the feeling. And I say all the time in my calmer self method, all that matters is how you feel. So I'm saying that to myself so much. All that matters is how I feel. And I say it hands on heart, because actually, when I am having my moments, when I'm not feeling my best, when I'm actually anxious, when I'm worried, when I'm worrying about my future self or my past self or my younger self, then actually it's just reminding myself all that matters is how I feel right here, right now.
Yeah.
And we can control that. I believe we can. It might not last, but we can. And that gives me so much strength and courage, because it is, you said it, one day at a time, didn't you? Oh, that one day, one moment, whatever. We can take it to that basic, how we feel in the moment. Also knowing, we both know, and I hope people will learn, that whatever you're feeling doesn't last forever. And that's a blessing that it doesn't always last. You know, when I'm in major panic mode, and I have been through a lot of this,
Yeah.
it's not going to last. It doesn't
Mm.
last, you know, and using the tools that we both have, you know, we can do that, reaching out to other people, sharing it, you know, sometimes going, oh, and I feel really scared and everything, and just sometimes saying it out loud takes the power away. So it's really lovely to have these tools, like we say, but it is about the feeling and just going, you know, whatever I'm going to be in my future, I'm going to be okay. I
Mm.
don't know what it is. I don't know. You know, I've had moments through this where I thought it might be that I'm not going to be here, but that's okay, you
Mm.
know, because that is my future self. You know, I can control certain things, but I can't control everything. And again, that's a big thing, isn't it? Because I've been such a control freak. Um, and just letting that go is quite freeing, just to say, whatever it is, I don't know. Maybe I'm not meant to know, but it is okay. And we will be okay. We'll deal
Every
with it.
every moment that I have a thought, the human thought, that God knows, but I don't when
Yeah.
my time on earth will be ended.
Mm.
And as you know, my husband was 60 years old,
Yeah. Yeah.
and way too soon. But then my mother was only 85. Even that seemed too soon.
Too soon. Yeah. Yeah.
Every
Mm.
moment that I have the thought, which is different from your thought, Nadine, because I
Yes.
don't have cancer. And it's different when you do and don't, and all the skin that you're in. This is when I come back to now.
Yeah.
This is when I come back to now. The future is completely, unknown to us. It's not
Yeah.
out of our control. It's
Mm.
unknown to us.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
what's in our control is when I come back to now. So for
Mm.
me, Nadine, to keep it real, as I always do with you, I still have sobbing jags.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do. I still have sobbing jags. I miss my
Mm.
husband.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I didn't miss the addiction that he ended up to
No.
be in.
Mm.
But I miss my husband, and I still have sobbing jags that feel like I can't control them.
Yeah.
But I know deep in my heart that I can, control moving through them, that I
Yeah.
can give myself permission to sob when I need to,
Yes. Yes.
as
Yeah.
I imagine that you have done, periodically
Yeah.
through this part of your
Yeah.
journey. And then I take my tissues. I have a box of tissues in every room, and then I wipe my eyes. I blow my nose. I use our methods, that we've
Yes.
discussed, and I bring myself down to this moment, and
Mm.
then I move through, and on. And
Yeah.
that idea, people's greatest fear is that of death,
Yes. Mm.
and not being around any longer. And my work and legacy is about that, to be
Yeah.
remembered. And the
Yes.
way that we are remembered is, not by wishes and hopes and miracles, but by the way we act in our lives every day
Yes.
to day. So
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing that. This, I can't really think of anything more important.
Yeah, it's so important. And what you said there is it's so key, isn't it? That it is, we don't know what's coming for us. We don't know when our time is up. There is great sadness with that, of who we leave behind, the regret, the loss, all of that. You're feeling that for your husband all the time. And again, that message just to get out to everyone that it is okay to feel whatever we feel. Um, and not be frightened of it, because it is that feeling. And again, that's something that I am really stepping into now. Whatever I'm feeling, I go with it, because I don't want, again, going back to the alcoholism, I would turn to a drink because I didn't want to feel it. I was scared of
Yes.
feeling it. So that is not what I do now. I'm not scared of feeling it now. I might not like it in the moment, but like you say, you do it, you go with it, and then you know that it will pass. It's not going to last forever, but it's important, so important to feel it. And I'm finding with this, like we said earlier, the feeling the love as well. So many people, myself included, have been scared to feel the love, to show the love. And through this, I'm getting that outpouring of love from people, because people are going, oh, I want to tell her how much I love her, that kind of thing. And that is really lovely for me to feel as well. And again, something I didn't used to do so much. So feeling every feeling it all, that whole thing is just, I think that is what life is all about, to just feel every little thing and take it. It is okay, whatever we're feeling. And however, and it hurts, doesn't it? It hurts, physically hurts when we're sobbing. It really, really, really hurts. It's physical, emotion, it's everything. But it's good. And it is being alive. It's the essence, isn't it, of what we're doing here.
It is. What an
Yeah.
ironic twist just there that you
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
said. Yeah, the it is being alive, the
Mm.
basket of
Yeah.
emotions,
Yeah. Why miss
you know.
it? We don't want to miss it, do we? Why miss it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
that's very true.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
took out my orange highlighter and highlighted what you said, and I want to invite our viewers and our listeners to take out their own pen and write down what Nadine shared with us, and that is this: all that matters is how I feel right here, right now. And I myself, in my earlier years of anxiety and type A, used to worry so much about the future, just like we've been talking about, and how it would go, and would it go the way I thought it was supposed to go? Would it go the way I wanted it to go from the ocean I grew up swimming in, which was the way I thought it was supposed to go? Right, there's a lot of energy in this, Nadine. We grow up swimming in an ocean, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Every parent is
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
Every parent fails in many ways, but there is good there too, usually. And so then that sort of begins to inform this idea of what you want, really stems from what you think it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
think it's supposed to be. A few days ago, when you had this incredible, head of hair, and you were gorgeous, and, this and that, and, presented yourself in such a way, you had a big public life earlier in your life, in the world of work that you did, and you had to present yourself every
Mm.
day,
Mm. Yeah.
and now, suddenly I'm making quotation marks there, here you are still presenting yourself. Did you ever imagine that you would present yourself in this way?
My goodness. Yeah, it really makes me think. I'm very grateful that I'm at the time of my life that I am. I'm in the world that I am. I'm running my business in this way, because I don't think I could have presented myself like this back in the day in my corporate life. Maybe I would have done, the change might have been there, and that would have been wonderful. But I don't know. I don't know that I could. Now I can. It is okay. We live in a world where it is okay. You have said the word cancer many times in this conversation. It wasn't that long ago people didn't say the word, did they?
Mm.
So we are in a world where we can talk more freely. We can do this. It is okay to show up like this, because other people do. I'm so grateful for the people that have come before me, that lead the way. I follow lots of people on social media that are inspirations to me that I don't even know. Never mind the people I do know, that I know have survived all this, and they're wonderful people. But it is that I don't think I could have done. The old
I
me.
want to I want to talk
Yeah.
about this, Nadine. Sorry to
Mm.
interrupt. I
Mm.
I want to talk about exactly this. Something really, big is happening here. Um, when you said, I don't think I could have done this then, and I wrote
Yeah.
in my words, in my younger self, right, my
Mm.
younger life,
Mm.
I have to say that I have a lot to address, um, to face what I couldn't do in my younger life, but I won't tolerate this, Nadine. We're here today having this honest conversation
Yeah.
so that other people who are in that younger life now,
Mm.
who are in that younger life now,
Yeah.
dealing with these issues that you and I are discussing. And I want to ask you, how are they supposed to do this if we couldn't do that then?
Yeah, I'm feeling what you're saying here, and it's so key, isn't it? That actually, yes, God, yeah. Okay, I'm going to say something different now, because actually I think I could. Faced with this, I could have done. It wouldn't have been that easy, but I could have done. I've got confidence that I would, and you're the same. So put this out there for everybody else, because you're absolutely right. I've just said, oh, I'm older, we're in a different world, aren't I lucky? No, we can do this. We can do this when we need to. When we
Right.
need to. When we need to, the power, the tools, everything is there when we need it. So I'm backtracking now and going, yes, if this had been me in my 20s, whenever, then yeah, I'd step up to it. It would have been a different path, wouldn't it? I might have turned to my alcohol a bit more because I was stepping into that more. I would have found my way in
Right.
whatever way. So yes, I'm backtracking, changing what I
Well,
said there, because I think it's really important. You're absolutely right.
I mean, in the end, as we've learned, we're not really that in charge. And so for sure, if it happened to you in your 20s or your 30s or whatever, it would have happened. And this is, we're talking about the cancer journey now for you. That's what we're
Mm,
talking about. For me,
mm,
it was something different. It was addiction showing itself in my life, which I
yeah,
didn't see. But either way, shape, or form, you and I show up to have this exact conversation, to come into a greater awareness. There are people watching us or listening to us, and I want to say that these things, all that matters is how I feel. The lesson of showing up in my vulnerability, being public, allowing myself to be supported, that there's people who want to help you if you
yeah,
allow them in.
yeah,
Another thing you said is fluidity in my life. You talked about fluidity. And so uh, I want us to, now we're in the Dear Younger Self thesis, Nadine. I
mm,
realize, I'm
mm.
sorry, this is very intense, but
It's good, it's good.
I just think that I want anybody who is in any age to learn to listen and learn these lessons that we're discussing today. One of which is, things don't always turn out the way you thought,
Mm,
that there is more power in you than you realize or
mm,
than you imagine. Nadine is showing up here today. I'm showing up here today to show you that. And there may be more that you could do than you think. Do you know what
yeah.
I'm saying, Nadine? Do you
Yes,
understand?
I really do, because it is that I do know now, in a different way. I would have done what I needed to do. I would have done, and I've got absolute confidence in that. It would have been different. I don't know how it would have played out, but I would have done. And I really feel that this is something. I mean, I've got a background as a nursery school teacher. I so believe that all the things we're talking about now need to be on the curriculum. Children should be given these tools in their school, in their early years, in their education. And it's not to blame parents not teaching and everything, but passing these messages on from day one almost. When I was young, when I was a little girl, I had absolute confidence. Didn't have the fears. I didn't have all the worries that I had. Then it changed, because society changed and I changed, and I got into people pleasing and that kind of thing. And it's come back now. So it has always been there. And I feel this is something to nurture. And what you're saying there is so valuable, Susan, because we want the young people to hear. Don't wait until you're our age. Don't, it doesn't have to be this time. Yes, I'm grateful of my age and my wisdom and the life that I've led, but it was there in me, and it was there in you, and not to regret. I said to one of the nurses when I was talking about my diagnosis, what have I done? What did I do? And she said straight away, you have done nothing. It's not anything to do with what you've done. So she put that out of the picture completely, as I've done something to bring this on myself, you know, because it's not healthy to go there. It's not that regretting, it's not that your younger self and you've done something wrong. You know, we do things right all the time,
Yeah.
and we find our way because we do. It's in there. It is that being open, being vulnerable, being fluid, all of those things. If we live our lives that way, we're not going to go wrong. We're not going to go wrong. We're going to find our way. And that's what I want everyone to hear, you know, because we do start off our life like that. When we're little, we know what we want and we need, and we get it. We cry and we get what we need, don't we? We demand it when we're young, and we need to stay like that. And, you know, I am embracing that again, you know, crying, asking, you know, pleading for what I want, and I'm getting it. So whatever journey you come through, it's there in us, isn't it? It's in our core. So
It
stepping
is.
into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it can be, you know, Nadine, as my coaching practice has grown and deepened, I'm working with women who are in basically, frankly, you know, situations of domestic violence.
Yeah.
And so many things, you know, the issue of narcissism
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
become pervasive. But also just people living in fear.
Yes.
Not that it's, to tell you the truth, not that it's any different than, there are many times in the history of the world that were, you know, exponentially worse than the times that we're living in. Still in all, each and every one of us is human and has only what we have. That's why we show up, you know, you do in your business, I do in my business. We have these conversations to help people, you know, break through a little bit to imagine, what if I could be brave enough to do this? What if I could be vulnerable to say certain things? You know, there were situations I found myself, not domestic violence situations, but there were situations that I found myself in my earlier life, and I didn't think I could tell a soul. Right.
Yes.
I didn't know what to do, how to say it, you know, that I could. I felt, you know, there were moments that I felt alone or worried or scared. And you and I are showing up to have this conversation today precisely to support people who might be feeling alone or worried or scared about anything. It could be a job situation. It could be something with their sister. It could be anything. It could be using a substance. It could be feeling what I call depressive coming on, you know, all kinds of things. And that's why I just got emotional. Thank you for, you know, allowing me to get through to, you know, to this side. But, you know, I think it made a difference just now to imagine, and for me, it's a big thing in my what I call my inner work, Nadine. In my inner work today, having to face what I couldn't face. In my inner work today, having or wanting to face, having to face what I couldn't face. And that's why, you know, when you say, if it happened, if you had received a cancer diagnosis earlier in your life, surely you would have just, however it would have gone, right? You would have faced it however.
Exactly. We don't know that it's but it is right, isn't it? That, you know, to not be like you saying in your situation, you know, you didn't know what you didn't know. You know, it's not that you weren't dealing with it, you didn't know. And that was maybe meant to be the way it was. You weren't meant to know. You weren't maybe meant to make it right. I don't know, you know, because this is the giving it up, and it's meant to be or it's not meant to be, isn't it? Not going, oh, if only I'd known I could have done something different. Maybe we're not meant to. And that's sometimes hard to accept, isn't it? That, you know, okay, I didn't know. But to, again, to be kind to yourself and go, I didn't. Let that go, because you didn't, you know. And that's the and the way, and that's how I feel with you personally, because we have discussed this many times, and I hope I'm not talking out of turn, but it is that so many people go, oh, I should have done something different. You know, I was going down that path and I got corrected straight away, and I'm so glad of that, you know, because there's what's the energy in that, what's the benefit in that, to actually go, oh, you know, it's going over the old stuff, isn't it? Worrying, ruminating, you know, the same as when we worry about the future. It's not the place to be. It's not healthy, it's not valuable, it's very counterproductive. So whenever you catch yourself, and I know you say this to people a lot, you know, catch yourself in the past or in the future, you know, come back to the now just for a moment, and then come back out again. You know, that's the way, isn't it? That's our technique that we teach people all the time, and we use ourselves, and it's so valuable. Easier said than done sometimes, as I know, but it's so powerful, isn't it? Just to catch yourself. I always say it's recognizing that we're doing it, and then and sometimes someone else telling you, you know, just remind you, hang on, you're doing it again. That's valuable. That's nice when people help you, isn't it? And accepting that help, and then just go, okay, yeah, I'm doing it again, with a sense of humor almost. Go, oh yeah, okay, I'll go again, you know.
Yeah.
And then just choosing in the moment, whether it's a breathing technique, a little bit of qigong, a movement, just to bring you back to the focus to now. Powerful tools that we use and we teach people. And then you choose how you carry on. And that's the key, isn't it? One day at a time, one step at a time.
It reminds me of Nadine and I met through our dear friend Cornelia Stephanie. That's how we met. That's how we got to know each other. And Cornelia and I have a podcast, and we were just talking about it. And I just heard myself wanting to respond something that she actually shared in our podcast, which is all of what you said is so right on. And still in all, that doesn't mean that we don't have our own team. Right?
No,
coaches.
no.
I have a therapist, you
Oh,
know,
yeah,
doubtless
yeah.
you have a therapist.
Oh, yeah. I've
And
got so many people support me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we can catch ourselves in the past or the future and come to the present. That doesn't mean that, and then you said it also, it isn't helpful to have somebody else remind us of these things and be there with us as well. And Cornelia just said that as well on in another conversation that we were having. Yeah, this whole idea of being in my confident life methodology, the first phase is coming to conscious awareness.
Yes, yes.
Becoming consciously aware. Becoming consciously aware. This is like the first phase of my methodology as I put it together for my work, but I didn't make this up. I learned this myself in the same way that, you know, you've learned listening to all the people who have inspired you over the years. And so becoming consciously aware, what you said was, I catch myself, if I catch myself in the past or in the future, I can then come back to the present, which is when I say, how do I feel now in this moment? I may feel sad, you know, you're reminding me that there was, you know, I didn't know what I didn't know, and you can't know what you don't know. No, you know, exactly. Then I say, did I really not know it, or was I in avoidance or denial? You know, for you asking the question, did I cause cancer? You know, was it the way I ate? Was it something else? Smoking, you know, for example, or something this or that. In the end, we can ask the questions, but the truth is, you know, exactly as you're saying, you know, it's really, you said going over the old, ruminating. It really is the way that we can support our future selves. It's not about my future goals. Am I going to have money, or am I going to this? You know, the way that now I know the magic and the truth of, and the miracle really of how I can support my future self is what I say, by doing everything I can to be well and healthy today. Exactly. Period. That's it. And well and healthy might be editing an article that I needed to do for my business because I get paid for that. Right?
It might very well be. Yeah, it might be.
That, or it might be, it's time for me to get outside to walk my physical body and be with my dog in nature and that.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is, and it's something, isn't it? It's a change, and it is that recognition, isn't it? Like catching yourself when you notice you're doing it. It's okay. We do it all the time. just noticing, recognizing, doing something about it, taking that one step that you need at the moment, that does lead you to your future, or helps you heal your past, whatever we're doing at the moment, because we are, again, it's that fluidity, isn't it? And this idea of your dear younger self, dear future self, how they are so together, because they're together with us present in the moment as well, aren't they? So it's all connected.
That is going to be where we leave this conversation for now. I couldn't have said it better myself. Nadine, I love you. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
showing up and having this honest, real conversation with me. I am on your team, and
I
you
know,
know
I'm
that,
so glad, so
yeah,
glad.
yeah, you know that I'm here for you. I will look forward to our next conversation.
Yes, me too.
See you
Thank you
soon.
so much, Susan. It's been a joy. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.